I cannot believe some of these things happened to me at work, and I just want to share them with you because I want to know if any of you can relate or if you have similar stories or something crazy like this has also happened to you. Honestly, I'm dying to know. Leave them in the comments, share them with me, and maybe we can talk about it in the next episode. What I'm doing right now is I want to have a few solo episodes. I have a few awesome guests lined up for the next few interviews I'm going to be conducting. I have a few stories for you. Let's dive in. Some of these stories are just related to working in general. And I used to be a barista, but I was also a nanny. And if you've ever done those two jobs, you interact with some craziness, some wild just experiences, things that you're just like, I don't know if 19-year-old me should be dealing with this stuff. Let's talk about it. I was a barista. I believe it was the summer of 2015, 2014. I go into work one day, right? And all of a sudden the manager comes up to me and says, "Hey Eunice, we got a complaint from a customer. They said that last night you did not want to serve them cold brew because you said you were all out, but you could have at least made some more." And I was just so confused because I didn't work that night, the previous night. I was like, "Hey, I didn't work that shift. You may be confusing me with someone else." And they were like, "Well, it doesn't matter if you work the shift or not. The customer's really upset. We need you to take training. Basically get written up for something that I did not do." I was so scared. I honestly felt like, why am I getting punished for something I did not do? The next day, they contacted me. The manager said, "Hey, we checked and it wasn't you, but thank you for taking the fault." That's basically what he said. And he's like, "Oh, and the customer came back and she just wanted to apologize and say it actually wasn't that big of a deal. She just was really upset that she couldn't get her iced coffee. And it really wasn't the customer's fault. She didn't get the service she wanted." But the audacity to then blame someone who wasn't even working on that shift. And low-key, I do think it was because the manager was closer to the person who I know was on shift that day. I couldn't believe that happened to me. So that was the first time, but not the only time I've received a written warning. And we'll talk about the second time in my next story. It was my first full-time nanny job. And I remember being super excited. I honestly could not believe everything that they would trust a 19-year-old with or 18-year-old with. I could not believe it. She let me drive her car, gave me a credit card, and I just drove her children that were aged 5 and 7 everywhere. Taekwondo, ballet, piano. There were times when the kids would throw tantrums, more so the eldest boy. And I had to get them ready. I had to get him ready to go to Taekwondo. He was ready to go. And I was like, "All right, let's go. We're running late." And all of a sudden, he started just flipping over the table and started crying. And he got on the floor and was like crying. And he was like, "I am not going." And I was so stressed out because I was like, this is part of my job. I have to get him to Taekwondo. If I don't get him, oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired. And this is just where the train of thought was going. It was terrible. I've never had to really deal with a tantrum before. Again, first nanny job. And I didn't know what to do. I was 19 years old. I was actually 18 years old at this point. I was so young. I didn't know what to do. And so I just basically had to text the mom and say, "Hey, he's not doing well." I let her know what was happening. She said, "It's fine. Don't stress about going." But that was, I think, the first time I really had to deal with something super stressful at work. Those were all my non-corporate work stories. But now let's dig into the corporate ones that you would think, maybe they'll be a little bit more professional, and you would be wrong. Here's what's happening. My first ever full-time corporate job, I was working at an ad agency. And I got there, I was super excited. The agency was really cool. The people I got along really well with. And again, first full-time job after college. And I was hired on as a community manager. If you don't know what that is, that's responding to comments on social on behalf of a few clients. And we had a new client that we were basically trying to pitch. My side of the presentation was really just like what we can do with community management. But before we got there, we had a meeting, an internal meeting to kind of see who's doing what part for the pitch. I was writing down my notes. What am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. And after the meeting, one of the managers, who I'm actually trying to think back to this, and I do think she was technically my manager. She's like, hey, Eunice, can I see your notes? And I was like, sure. That was really strange in a sense because, yes, I was new to corporate, and I will say, I was not tasked to take notes for the team. I was just taking my own notes. And she looked at my notes and didn't like them, and I got written up. And I was like, why am I getting written up for my notes? They're my personal notes. No one asked me to take them. I am not an account manager or project manager here in charge of keeping track of what everyone else is tasked. I was internally, again, freaking out, similar flashbacks to working at the coffee shop. I didn't know what to do. I didn't do anything. I just heads down. I cried when I got home. Fast forward a few months later, our agency buys out another agency, and there comes new amazing leadership from that team. And the person who then became the CMO called me into her office, and she was like, hey, I heard about this one thing that you got written up for. Doesn't seem like a fair thing to get written up for. Just wanted to apologize. Basically just rectifying the situation. And honestly, I really appreciated that. And I have no ill feelings towards anyone at that office. This other story has nothing to do with corporate, but I was just like, I cannot believe this happened to me. I was working at another ad agency. During lunchtime, a lot of the times I would go and eat by myself or eat with my mom because she also worked in downtown and we were 2 blocks away from each other. But this one time I decided to go to Ascension. And so if you know, you know, Ascension is delicious. I went, and I think that they still actually have what I ordered there, and it's called a Manchego cheese chicken sandwich, I believe. So I ordered that. The sandwich is huge, right? I could not finish it. And so what I decided is I ate half of it during lunchtime, and then I packed the rest, put it in to-go box, went back to the office, put it in the fridge, had my name on it, and I was like, I'm going to eat this for dinner. I'm so excited. It's my favorite sandwich. It's going to be delicious. And I was just literally thinking about what I was going to have for dinner. And I guess I should kind of say I tended to always eat lunch a little bit earlier. So I would start having lunch around 11:30. So I would probably be back in the office around 12:30. End of the day rolls around, go to the fridge, open it up, ready to get my sandwich, and it was gone. When I opened up that fridge and I saw my sandwich was missing, I literally had a Ross moment.
You threw my sandwich away. My sandwich? My sandwich?
I could not believe someone ate my sandwich. Who does that? And I still think about it, and this was literally 2018. And literally after that, I never put any of my food back in that fridge. I had a short stint at a company. And again, very green in my career. And all of a sudden, they needed me to prepare these kits, these sales kits. And I had a list from each sales representative on what they needed to be in their box. Of course, all of them had different needs. And so that was not a problem, but I knew that I would have to work overtime, and I did. A lot of the times I was coming in at 6 a.m., leaving at 7 p.m., and I think I did this for 2 weeks straight. And I just remember towards the end of it, once I knew this was the last day and I know I have to have everything completed, I scheduled myself a hair appointment for the following day. It was a Friday. I think I scheduled it for a 2 p.m. I'll leave work early. I've been working overtime these last 2 weeks. There shouldn't be a problem. My manager at that time was based in Canada. And again, I was just so green. I didn't realize that I should inform them of the overtime that I was working and what I was planning to do to flex my time. I just was like, no one is asking me why I'm staying so late or why I'm coming so early. Why would they ask me, why are you leaving a little bit early on one random day, Friday? And all of the boxes and kits get shipped. Project is completed the day before. That next day, it's a breath of fresh air. I come into the office and I was just ready. I was ready for my hair appointment. And that day, my boss came in from Canada to work from the office. I remember just telling her, hey, this is what's happening. I have an appointment. I've been working overtime these past 2 weeks. I want to take some time to decompress and just go get a haircut. Again, also young and so clueless. And so she was like, well, I don't know why you would think that that's okay to do. But you already booked your appointment, so go ahead and leave. And I was so shocked. I left and I thought about it and I'm like, I can't work here. I was so embarrassed at that moment. I think now in my mentality, I understand where she was coming from. But at that moment, I was like, I'm going to quit. I cannot believe she would not be understanding that I need to flex my time. I've worked until like 7 p.m. for 2 weeks straight. And I'm just leaving a few hours early on one day. But at that same company, I also became the villain accidentally. I got an email. And it wasn't rare for me to get emails from sales reps requesting what they need me to send them or an order for them. And they'll send me documents. And so I got an Excel sheet. I opened up that Excel sheet. And I just remember like clicking it and my screen immediately going black. And I was like, what is going on? And we only had one IT person. I'm so sorry to you. I was honestly dumb for that. Immediately notify him. He's like freaking out, starts doing all of whatever he would do to fix it. And I'm so sorry. This was like during a Friday as well. And I come back on Monday and I see him and he looks super stressed. If I can remember correctly, I think he stayed there all weekend. I remember he told me he worked all weekend long. I can't remember if he slept there or if he just was coming back after going home, sleeping, coming back. But he was stressed to the T. I felt so bad. And then eventually the CEO's daughter, who also worked there, she came. Again, they were based in Canada. They came and she was like, Eunice, I heard what happened. And I was like, she's like, it's okay. I'm technically the first one who has ever let in malware into the company. And she's like, ever since then, we've gotten so many attempts. But before then, we really didn't. It's not really your fault, but it was definitely my fault. I should have known. I should have checked who the sender was. I can't believe these things happen to me at work. I can't believe I've experienced some of these things. I have more stories if you want to hear them, but I also really want to hear your story. So leave them in the comments, or you can just direct message me, and I can keep you anonymous, and we can just laugh and learn and reminisce on the things that we do when we're entering our early careers, or even the big bombshells that happen mid-careers and late career. It happens to everyone, right? Right? I really hope so. But thank you for listening. I hope you were able to laugh a little bit, and I'll see you in the next solo episode.